Rabul or Kumsong as was. We are in South Korea and we are at the Gyeongju National Museum, and it is crazy busy here today. I'm going to take you on a tour of this amazing collection of artifacts from over 1500 years ago. So we're actually going to be starting here at the beginning of the Shilla dynasty, and you can just kind of get an idea of the sort of things that we're going to be seeing, right? So Shilla was one of 12 small states that was located to the east of the Nakdong River here in Korea. And its center was basically here, the Gyeongju Basin. And we've done lots of walking tours of various parts of Gyeongju, in and around Gyeongju. You can check those out after you watch this, maybe. So basically, by 57 BC, the clans that were here, 6 of them joined forces and then, basically created a kingdom. So, you go from tribes to a kingdom. Have been excavated locally. Bronze Age, we're still in the 1st and 2nd century BC. And look at this sheath here, which actually because it's shaped like an axe, but it is a dagger. You can actually see there are pieces of the wood inner sheath still extant, which is pretty cool. Good morning, Susan. Thank you for joining us. We have here some ceremonial objects. So remember that ritual is very important across most of human society. It's the way we touch the intangible. And so here you can see a series of bells that have actually survived. They're bronze. And, the sound, smell, light, touch, society just that is, which dates to the 1st century BCE, and it's bronze also. You can also tell by the patina of age that is upon it, but just look how sophisticated that combination of metal bits is. Here we have a variety of iron items. This is transitioning into the Iron Age, and people think of iron as being a common metal now, but the reality is that iron is very expensive to produce historically. The stages to extract iron from rock are very labor intensive. So, yeah. So over here, you see a number of iron axe heads, but also iron ingots. This was actually also a form of currency. Dagger, right? And so we're demonstrating the transition from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. So we're talking 1st century BCE, basically. Yeah. And as you can tell, none of the soft bits survived. This was probably a leather sheath, maybe rare that those kinds of materials survive in the earth around here. Metal survives, stone survives, but fabric and wood and human tissue, they never survive, really. Yeah. So here we have, this is from actually a coffin, right? So this was found, and they've demonstrated how it was found in the wooden coffin in the ground.
Thought it was bacon at first.
They thought it was bacon at first. No, it would be very undelicious bacon for certain. Yeah. So this is 3rd to 4th century AD, CE, and what they've done at this museum, which is really fantastic, is they always try to lay things out. They've started doing this recently in the way in which they were found when the archaeologists opened up this layer of the soil. And so you're actually seeing basically what the archaeologists found. Cats will be cats. Thank you for returning. Welcome to ancient Gyeongju. Here, now pottery also survives in the earth, and a lot of cooking because it's caked in often find, when they find in the ground, they find one of these bowl-like objects with another container inside that has a lid. And so they're pretty certain, and also there's often soot debris on the inside. So they're pretty certain that these were actually basically stoves, little portable stoves. So you would put coals, not fire, burning coals in the bottom, and then you would put your cooking vessel for cooking. Now you can tell that a lot of these have been reconstructed, right? They didn't, most of them, many of them did not come out of the ground whole. And all these different jars for storing things with lids. You've got handles where rope could be put through, and cross breezes for cooling the ground. And we're back to our bird-shaped pottery, a very common feature of Sheila Dynasty pottery. Unfortunately, no one seems to have any theories about why they're bird-shaped. If you have any ideas about why in first millennium Korea being bird-shaped, duck and or goose specifically, might be important, or possibly chicken
or something finally.
Oh, wait, oh my God, there's a new display. Why was bird-shaped pottery placed in burials? That's new. Okay, so apparently they suspect that they were used in funerary rituals and then they were placed in the burials. It is assumed that individuals wish to fly to heaven after death in the bird-shaped vessel. So that's the current theory.
Twitchy witch. Those are so beautiful.
They are really gorgeous, aren't they? Thank you so much, Taryn. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. We deserve more views. Okay, so here we've got, you know, and they unfortunately they often call things exactly as you see them, which is sort of annoying. Cylinder-shaped vessel stands. Well, it does make sense that maybe you would want a stand on which to place your pottery. Now, these dishes,
Just like that.
exactly. They just like duck, and it's their favorite meal. Yeah, I can absolutely believe that. These dishes here, handsome, these ones, right? So these ones nearly always come with lids. The lids didn't always survive, but these are very similar to Joseon style food dishes, because you would actually make the food in a kitchen, which is pretty far away from where you're dining, cover the food with these lids, bring them out to the dining area, and then uncover them there. And so I suspect that this was a way that the dead could basically keep living their glorious lifestyle. And yeah, these are absolutely the tombs of the aristocracy and the royalty. Yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, then we have lamp-shaped pottery, which I could actually see this easily being used as a lamp right there.
Lamps.
Yeah, we could see that being used as a lamp. Of cotton or hemp or
Pottery envy.
you have duck pottery and start
Back just a little bit.
right.
I mean,
Oh, do we have a question? Oh, I like the idea that they could also be symbolic of food and maybe even was a trendy item that people could display good taste in death. Yeah, Twitchy Witch, 100%. I agree with all of that. So here we have an iron ore display and our iron making display. So over here we start with, you know, they actually show the iron ore and they prove it by putting magnets on it, and also kind of illustrates how you might actually locate iron ore if you don't necessarily recognize it by sight. Right. And then we actually have the molds here. So they've actually found axe molds in the ground. And it's nice that they actually put an extant one in the mold so that you can see that this is in fact the proper fit.
it'd be funny if that's where that one started.
Actually, that's true. That's just where it got left. Yeah, tuya. I don't. They sometimes come up with some fun words in Korean. I'm pretty certain these are part of a pipe system. Okay, so we are in the Iron Age, and war is, of course, the way that Sheila grew. It became a peaceful kingdom, but it didn't start that way. So there's actually a lot of armor that has survived. So this is, and horses were a very big part of Sheila's supremacy. And so here you have, you know, the faceplate for a horse, and there's actually a name for this in English, and I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, was there a question? No, okay. Yeah, But you know,
Just kidding.
you can actually see there's a buckle here, so you can see that this was actually strapped on under the horse's chin, and there's some buckles here along the top edge there, still that survived. The metal parts, not the leather. The leather's all gone. Now we get to some of the earlier earlier body armor. So this dates to the 4th to 5th century BCE, and let me tell you, talk about a gorget. So this is to protect the back of your neck. And there's usually a similar piece that comes around the front that's a little bit lower, but that basically just cuts under your chin. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this stuff seems straight out of sci-fi movies, but it's all real, which makes it so much more fascinating. Just think of Egypt. Seems so far-fetched, but it's 100% real. Yeah, absolutely, Taryn, right? Like, and you can see where costume designers often get their inspiration.
I think the horse's head was made of plastic. Sorry, Susan.
Oh, yeah, that horse's head is made of some kind of composite. Definitely not natural. Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, obviously all that's survived about the armor is the metal, and that makes people often think that that's all armor was. But actually, if you look very closely along the top ridge of this chest plate, these two chest plates, you can see pierced holes. And that is no doubt where other bits, probably fabric of some kind, were sewn in to flesh out the look. Because they haven't yet gotten, yeah, it's hard. Oh, is it hard to see? Oh, that's too bad. Maybe you can.
I don't know if
I don't know if we can zoom in. Yeah. Okay, now here is a super cool pot for my pottery fans out there. I love this one. It is so fun and festive. So it's literally just labeled as a long neck jar with figurines.
Probably with leather straps, Susan.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not finger loop. That would probably not. I mean, it might have been used to point pieces to it, but it was probably sinew or something like that.
What's the turtles on this?
Yeah, look at all these charming figurines. So this was found in the tomb of King Michu, who is one of the more legendary kings of Sheila, also because they have excavated his tomb.
Evidently, he likes a little bit of.
Wow, that's a graphic. Nice. Please don't ban me, YouTube. It's history. It's history. Okay. So this is a chestless, and it doesn't go around the neck. It actually drapes across the chest from shoulder to shoulder and also around the shoulders. I suspect this piece probably, if you show me, handsome, show me.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. This piece probably draped here around the shoulders and then connected to bigger pieces here. And I'll show you, we'll get to a full set later. But what's interesting about this is that this is glass. Glass is not blown. It is not made. Lampwork is not done here in Korea. These are imported from Indonesia and Malaysia, that part of the world, modernly speaking. So this really just shows the connectivity of Sheila with Asia at large. And then we'll show you later on just how it's connected to even more. Yep.
Twitchy Witch says it's fascinating how everybody makes armor, but everyone had a vastly different approach to making it.
Yeah. And I think it has to do with the weapons. The weapons that you have determine the kind of armor that you need. I mean, I don't think that. I know that. The weapons that you have determine the kind of armor that you'll need. Clothing as well.
My favorite part of the historical gallery. The bling.
The bling. Yep. Oh gosh. The Sheila were definitely, I mean, maybe you can just get a sweep of the bling case here. So the Sheila dynasty, they were all about the bling. It's the polar opposite of the Joseon dynasty when simplicity and modesty was the order of the day. And you can just see, you know, how many precious stones, semi-precious stones, glass beads, which of course were very expensive in this era, that they would choose to make all sorts of different colors, different color combinations. You've got jade, you know, this here is jade, and this is clear jade, which is the most expensive grade of jade as I'm right. And the theory about these, which, you know, they look like embryos. Not that many people in the Sheila dynasty maybe would have ever seen an embryo, actually. But the theory is that they're a symbol of plenty, because there's an association between Sheila and the crescent moon. So that's the current going theory. You know, yeah, so beautiful. Okay, and now we get to our first set of main bling, what we would call a tiara. Yeah, this dates to the 5th century, and I want one of these so badly. I mean, it's perfect to dress up that evening gown, if you know what I mean, ladies. You notice that it actually has basants, and when it shakes, you can see them. You can see them dance, and they will definitely catch the light, whether it's the sunlight or candlelight or torchlight, and it would really help create that sense of reality, of power. It would inspire awe in people who were looking. And if you look at the back, what I love about this, because you can, for those of you who make bling, you can see the techniques that were used to attach the pieces, and so you can actually see all the wires that strung it basically together, and you can see that it's not messy, but it's also not exactly perfect on the inside, and that's okay.
If they can see it so well, unfortunately.
Oh, well, I'm sorry if you can't see it so well.
Come to Korea.
Come to Korea, see it in person.
Right. So Twitchy Witch said she becomes a magpie when she sees shiny. Tearing it up says, just think of all the stuff that was destroyed or never discovered yet.
Yep.
Just what's waiting out there.
There are so many tombs that have not been excavated here.
Says, I love tiaras. And Twitchy Witch suggests commission Armor and Castings for that.
I seriously am thinking about reaching out to Armor and Castings and suggesting they expand to Sheila. So
this is really hard to see.
Yeah. I know, and it's kind of a shame because these chains here, these gold chains, this is going to sound terrible, look just like a modern gold chain. But the workmanship is so fine, and I've actually seen craftsmen here in Korea reproducing these in the original technique, and it's astounding that they can do it in this way. We have and in leather, I guess. Yeah, I want to eat out of a gold bowl. Have gold. Your horse's tack. And
I want to delete this person. Black user. Yeah.
Okay, so here we actually have, in this case, right next to the horse bit, these are actually bits of a quiver. So for those of you who do archery, now obviously the soft parts haven't survived, the leather, the wood, any fabric that probably most likely covered it, either decoratively or... These are found, no doubt, next to a set of arrows and probably at the level where a quiver would be the person buried with it. And probably, royalty in Korea for thousands of years have... Is there no bias against archers who are basically what we would consider knights, warriors? It was you were... Yeah, these are basically quiver bits. You've got the belt which held the quiver on, and then the pieces that supported the quiver and also decorated.
Let's explore the underground city below the pyramids.
Yeah.
Can't imagine what's waiting to be there.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so these little gold rings, they're called earrings, but they're not earrings like we understand them. They didn't go on pierced ears. They were usually hung from the ears, like a whole ribbon was like wrapped around the ear, or suspended from the coronets and crowns and headdresses. But they call them earrings because they're found near the ears, and they are rings in a literal sense, but they're not like to wear in a piercing through your ear. Okay, so we're starting to see the ceremonial footwear. This is upside down. You don't step on those spikes. The spikes go into the ground, guys. And you wear a slipper or an inner shoe. You're not just putting your bare foot into the hard metal. So don't worry about that. They're ceremonial only, and we don't even know if they ever actually wore them or if they were just meant for burial. Like a lot of times, come to me. A lot of times it can be really hard to tell whether goods and graves were actually used in daily life or if they simply represent the afterlife. So, you always have to keep that in mind when you're looking at grave goods. Just like when you're looking at art, it doesn't necessarily represent reality. It might represent the artist's imagination of something else. So just caveat recreator. It says a lot about humanity to me that reenactors will find ways to recreate the most beautiful things of the past, from pottery to jewelry. No matter what era, we are drawn to the beauty of craft. Absolutely. 100% Twitchy Witch. For me, it's about creating the beautiful parts of the past, not the ugly parts. And I mean that metaphorically and literally. So here we actually has an inscription. Fortunately, this is apparently a replica. So the original is probably, you can see to the, the original is probably in the massive storage that there is here. Yeah, this is interesting. They say that this is a Chinese mirror. So this bowl, this silvered bowl, actually. And the interesting thing about that is it definitely indicates just how connected Sheila was to, I think at this time it was the Tang dynasty, maybe. Definitely, and later Sheila, it's definitely the Tang dynasty. But Sheila was basically a client state. Yeah, Sheila was basically a client state of the Tang dynasty, as basically Korea was nearly always in its history a client state of some dynasty in China. It's just how the power, and that's true of most of Asia, that's just how the power was back then. Okay, now here we've got some really fun votive pottery. And actually some of this pottery helps us identify the metal bits that they find in the tomb. So for example, that horse and rider shaped pottery, they have found nearly all of the metal bits depicted on that horse and the rider. They have found them in the ground, and they were able to use that pottery, those statuary, to identify these otherwise random metal bits. And I love the dragon, maybe oil lamp. It could be an incense burner, but it's got the hanging chain. So I expect it must have been an oil lamp. I would love a dragon oil lamp like that. That's just so neat. And then
Did you see that that's a sandal?
Yeah. Oh, also, yeah. So for those who don't know, this little straw shoe-shaped pottery, as it's called, they don't necessarily know what its purpose was. That is actually a metal replica of a straw shoe. So for those of you doing Sheila era recreation, these are straw overshoes that they would wear over their socks, basically, but probably lower classes is the assumption. Right, so here we have all sorts of cute animal clay figurines. And again, the idea is these are votive, intended to make sure that the person who's being interred has company and creatures to go with them into the afterlife. Who knows if that's true, because unfortunately, documents haven't really survived explaining why these items were specifically chosen and put in. But if we look up here on the bowl covers, look at those wonderful, for those of you who've studied late 16th century Italian pottery, do you recognize any? Like I've seen maiolica with animals just like that practically from the late 16th century from Italy and Spain. And it's just fascinating how different parts of the world, different eras can come up with the same aesthetic ideas. That's so neat.
Twitchy Witch wonders if that might actually be an instrument rather than a mirror. It's round and has a...
I think maybe it's what's on the inside that's the mirror. Yeah, but it might be a mirror not for, you're right, it might not be a mirror for seeing yourself. It might be a mirror that has a different function. So yeah. Yes, socks and sandals are absolutely eternal. Okay. Okay. Moving on. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the Sheila Gallery. Now look over here. This is so neat. I love Korea for so many reasons. One of the things they've started doing is making replicas and putting them out so that you can touch them. And this is specifically aimed at people who are visually impaired or who suffer from visual impairment. But even for us who might not otherwise get to touch this, you actually get to feel it in your hand. And of course, they've got Braille, and they've got, for people who can hear but are visually impaired, you can actually hear the explanation if you can't read Braille. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
Famous.
This is almost emblematic of Gyeongju, this particular partial face of the sun. Yeah, so you get see this in all the signs, so now you get to touch it too. And then this is one of the guardians, right? This is the Monkey King, maybe. Let me see.
I can't read it, unfortunately.
Wonsung Isang. Yeah, I'm actually, you see these, oh, or maybe no, it's a zodiac.
Zodiac.
It's a zodiac, yeah, right. Yeah, it's the zodiac monkey. Yep, I recognize the statue now. So of course, Asian zodiac is the, what you might know as the Chinese zodiac, and this is the monkey, and I am the year of the monkey.
You remember what was right here?
Yeah, the tomb was here.
So Susan asked if they've discovered children's toys, and Twitchy Witch says you look absolutely fabulous in that wine and that.
Oh, thank you. This is my 17th century style hanbok. Yeah, they've moved. Okay, so that's okay. So we're now into the full Sheila dynasty. Basically, we're at the point. Oh, what happened?
Lost,
Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so now we're getting into some really fine examples of gold work, like breathtakingly fine. And I do have a short video on my Creative Contessa channel, I think, about making items like this, the filigree items like this. The process is, astounding. And here we actually have sword sheaths.
I'm a rabbit.
Oh, yeah, the condottiero is a rabbit. So here we actually have sword sheaths, and what's amazing is that some of the soft bits have survived. The wood has. Not much wood survives from this era. And what's also interesting is that the swords were in the sheath. So, often we either find just a naked sword without anything, but here we actually have, pretty well survived. And of course, you might, for those of you who do living history involving weaponry, you might recognize some of the pieces even from later periods. And this one had a dagger and a sword together. You have the sword pommel is up there, and then a little bit down, you see the secondary sheath for the dagger with a matching pommel. Okay, so here we're getting back into some interesting bits of daily life. So they just call this a tripod cauldron with a handle, but it has a spout, right? And it has a lid. So this was clearly used to melt something and pour it carefully. Now, what could be, I don't think it's actually hot enough or sturdy. Yeah, probably not chocolate, sadly. And butter is not a thing here, so.
Bottoms of a pair of shoes.
Yeah, and these are the bottoms of more probably ceremonial shoes. Again, we don't know if they were used in real life or not. Okay, to the tomb. So this is a reconstruction of one of the tombs that they did. This is the Namde. And again, they've put the pieces in the way to understand what you see. So these chestlaces, you can see these bits of beads, right? The strings that bound them didn't survive. Again, what archaeologists then did was string all of those beads back together, which is odd. Here we have the regalia, and they kind of cheated by attaching and harness the fabric. It was fabric.
Stuff down here.
This is silver ones, yeah. They haven't attached this. They also often have silver equivalents of the gold bits in the tomb, which is interesting. Examples of the called beautifully because gold survives very well, the part not as much. And just wanted a set of serving dishes like these beautiful bowls here with covers, right? Aren't those stunning? And these fun ladles with the wavy hands. Of course, those is an early example of ergonomic grips. Or it just got smushed. I think really. So over here we have examples of Silk Road finds that they have found in tombs here in Sheila that demonstrate the connectivity of the world. So these are horn cups, and one of them is made of bronze, and one of them is actually a horn. And so these come from Central Asia. These come from the steppes. What I love, though, is that they actually figured out, that one of these random pottery vessels is actually a horn cup holder. which for those of you who've ever drinking out of horn cups, you know how annoying they are because you have to either hold them forever or you have to have a stand for it. Okay, so then we have this, watch out, what we have here, look at this, oh my God, stunning golden sword. This comes from, they call it Western Asia. I'm pretty certain that this comes from Europe. This looks so much like so-called barbarian era, migration era gold work. I mean, wow. Just this looks like Alfred the Great could have had this, honestly. It is such a stunning piece. And they actually did find wood intact with the sword. Yeah, so this is an amazing, amazing piece.
Yeah, it's still not stable. The horn.
What's not stable?
The horn.
Oh, horns, yeah, no. Okay.
My favorite pieces
are glass. Okay, so if you went with us on the Into the Tomb of the Heavenly Horse, you've already seen some of this, but these are the originals, not replicas. This is glassware from Rome, from Constantinople, and from Italy, from the 5th century. Isn't this just astounding? Some of it they've had to reconstruct, but the blue glass survived 1,500 years in the tomb. I mean, these look like they could be modern glassware in some cases. But that just shows you how stunningly interconnected the world really was. We're talking Europe to the most easternmost Asia.
See it.
Right? They show the details here of these different pieces.
Oh, now we get back to the stuff I don't want to.
Although, but look at that filigree work. I haven't seen these. These are new. I haven't seen these ones. I think I bet these are from Persia. I think those are from Persia, Handsome.
Get a better view of the dagger here. Oh, and it shows it on somebody's belt. That's interesting.
Black Sea. They think this one is from the Black Sea, but it looks like something Alfred the Great could have had also. Yeah. So all of these pieces, a lot of the pieces they found here really show how absolutely integral Sheila was to Eurasia, to the entire continent. They were not separate, they were part of it. Right. So here we have more grave goods, and we're getting into, there's a lot of bronze cauldrons that you start finding. And of course, this kind of bronzeware is actually very precious. In the graves, instead of silver gilt, more gilt.
More likely the glass made it through the Silk Road.
No evidence that like here. Okay.
All the
if you saw the tomb of I tell you that fiber never survives, and that's true. But what's exciting is that here it did. So this shows you, because of course what we find in the tombs are usually just bare metal. We don't have any idea about the soft layers. But this pair of gilt ceremonial shoes actually had hemp soles, basically. So that's hemp, right? And this is, you're looking at 1,500-year-old hemp, guys. And I know that might not seem exciting, but it is. It's very exciting. And then down here, we have a reconstruction of the shoes. So that you can see what they looked like then when they were all new and shiny instead of 1,500 years old. Age shame. No, the 1,500-year shoes look very.
The sword was a work of art. I wonder if it was specially made or at least purchased for the grave or as part of a dowry once.
Which thing specifically?
The sword.
The sword. So this is the era. This is not an era of dowries. This is an era of bride prices. This is an era when women have a lot of value and women are equal to men. Yeah. Okay, so this is interesting. They've put these jewel beetles here. Have you ever seen a beetle like this? They claim these are common here in Korea.
Never seen
I've
them.
never seen it here. The point they've put that here is because apparently, let me see.
Backing. You can see it in the back of the gold.
Yeah. Why have they put them here?
Because the item's decorated with jewel beetle. See the third one over? You can see the jewel.
Oh, right.
That one's original.
No, those are new. Well, apparently, beetle wings were used during the Shilla dynasty to decorate items like belts. And they don't say that those are not extant, and I don't really see any pieces, but maybe they found something that doesn't look anymore, but is. Oh, but that would explain the jewel beetle was known at the time as the royal insect. So horse harness was also adorned with jewel beetle wings, which would have made, which would have made it just shimmer. It takes the gold to a whole new level, basically.
Look at the little hat. Reconstruction.
Yeah, reconstruction of what they think. They think there might have been a soft interior inside the gold frame. Yeah, the gold exterior. Yeah. Now this is a saddle cantle. So if you want to take your horse tack to the next level, this is how you do it. Wow, that filigree work. Having seen a craftsman actually make that using period tools and techniques, wow, the time is lengthy and extensive. The rulers of Shilla, they were called the Maripgan. And so here you can actually see, you know, what they found in this particular tomb, the way in which they found it. So they actually found foodstuffs still in some of these vessels, which is, you know, for a living historian, that's super exciting. So this is all from one tomb. Right, this whole room is one tomb. So imagine the wealth that this represents. You know, foodstuffs, supplies for the afterlife, as it were. They don't even care. Right, so they found bird bones, they found clam shells, they found fish bones, which kind of tells me that maybe something got into the tomb and ate whatever was on it originally.
It's amazing that those ones survived, but the humans didn't.
Yeah, I guess they're a different type. That is a really interesting point. They were in the bowls. They were in the pottery bowls instead of in chamber. We have bronzeware. Love to have bronzeware like that. I would totally cook in a pot like that one with the lid. I would totally saute at things in that skillet tripod. Yeah, this is pretty neat. And of course, of iron were contained and art. It was the entire thing. The wood didn't survive in the Here we have, this is from Chonmachong, so this is from the Heavenly Horse Tomb, and these are the original, not reconstructions. Look how well they have survived. All of those wires are yeah, this is the original. All of those wires are hand drawn. All of those bezants are hand cut. and then hand threaded onto those wires, which are then threaded into the crown. These amazing pendants, the tiny filigree work, each little leaf attached to a wire and then wound around another thicker wire, and then those all laced together. Really quite amazing. You can absolutely see how a queen or a king stepping out in a procession wearing this would absolutely automatically inspire respect and awe. And it would also connect them to the heavens, right? This idea that gold has always been considered a sacred metal. It's always been somehow considered magical. And being dressed in so much gold surely must have been another way for the ruler to connect themselves to the heavens.
Susan asked if there's any Queen Sondok pieces. I don't think
they've excavated her tomb.
But it is nearby.
It is nearby, actually, relatively for us, anyway.
The crown is breathtaking.
It is, and this isn't the complete crown. This is the crown, but the crown has accessories. We're going to go show you the crown's accessories because why not? Why not make it go big, go really big, go really, really, really big, or go home? So we'll go straight to the crown's accessories. Yeah. So these pieces are also found, and the assumption is, and there seems to be a spot where they could attach to the main crown. So imagine that main crown with those antlers, and then this just
down a little bit.
Yeah, imagine that reaching up to the heavens from my brow. Yeah, quite. And what I hope you can see is there is thousands of intricate pierce work creating a pattern along the edge of all of that filigree. And so it creates an extra layer for the light to catch upon. And then illuminate the entire space from floor to ceiling, but still plenty of extra bling for your coronet. The mantle is also from the Chonmachong, that's the Heavenly Horse tomb. These are the originals. The ones in the tomb were replicas. So this is how it looked coming out of the earth. Looks pretty good for 1,500 years, I have to say.
European crowns really didn't need to study.
Exactly. European rulers just didn't. They're missing out. So here's what the chest list looked like in the ground, right? You know, these tiny little beads, different size beads, and you know, kind of see the way what it was based on where it was relative to the skeleton. So the shoulders, right, and then this part drapes across the chest, shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. Here's the excavation. It must have been to get down to this layer when the gold finally peeks through the dirt. You've been digging in dirt for years, probably. Layer by layer of thing, dust, and then finally the gold shines out at you. Yeah, so pure true, it doesn't tarnish. It shines the day it was made, right? So once you clean the dirt off, right? Oh, so we can show them different models. So these are all from different tombs. We've already seen what I'm referring to as my tiara. And you can see that they're very similar, but you know, there is definitely some room for individual expression. And they're not certain whether it was only kings and queens who wore them or if also some members of their court, but that the members of the court would have worn ones that were not pure gold or that were gilt bronze instead of being pure gold. That's a theory that they're working on right now. Unfortunately, not lots of documents of that nature have survived. They have plenty of records, just they don't cover that sort of information. Okay, so now we get to the earring display. For all of you blinksters out there.
I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, we'll start here. So again, these are not earrings like we understand them. These were suspended from headdress I mean,
A better view.
the delicacy of the craftsmanship is very impressive.
And they found tons.
The ground for 1,500 years, roughly. You know, you've got some, and you know, they're not all the same. They're all individual. You know, you've different styles. Like I love this one that has like the golden streamers that look like they're replicating ribbons coming out of the bottom. Right? It's almost like I can imagine a goldsmith saying, "I will make something for you that's not like everyone else. Just give me the leave to do it," and that's what they produced. Here are
luckiest Carter.
yeah, but lucky malaria or whatever it is he contracted and died of. So here are examples of those pendants that would have been suspended, the really long ones for very ceremonial use that would have been suspended from the crowns. And again, the craftsmen that made these were very, very impressive. Bracelets, of course, and apparently, you know, they understood that sometimes simple is good. Maybe. For people, and if Armor and Castings, if you're watching this, here are some inspiration maybe for new kinds of rings. So they have some very interesting ones, like these little shield rings that look like they shield an entire segment of your finger. Those are pretty cool. And again, those look like fantasy or sci-fi, right? Oh, is it hard to see them? That's too bad.
I'm looking at you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We couldn't show it to you. Oh, we already went in that room. Okay. Yeah. The Sheila. Okay, everyone. We're going to make you dizzy now. Korean museums are very fond of immersive digital displays, and this is a very small example of one, actually. Yeah, we've never quite figured out what it is they're trying to show, because these are Chinese characters, and actually most Koreans can't even read Chinese characters anymore. Yeah, but some of these can be very interesting, and some of them are just almost like an art display.
I think this is an art display.
Yeah, I think this is an art display. I'll keep an eye on it, and if something interesting comes along, we'll discuss it.
Guess what? Stoneware.
Okay, so we are entering the unified Sheila period. And so basically at this point, Sheila stretches from the southernmost tip of the peninsula all the way up into what is now Manchuria.
So much pottery.
Yeah, they really do have some. This is one of the most pottery-rich places. So if you're a potter and you're looking for inspiration for something different, if say you've been doing European pottery or America's pottery, you might want to consider looking at Sheila's amazing, astounding collection. And again, we don't know how much, well, some of it's obvious because it has soot all over it, and that was used for cooking. But, you know, these other dishes may have been purpose made to go into the grave. We actually don't know. But, you know, on the other hand, I do see lots of dishes that are covered. I mean, you see it in art, and it just makes sense. Like I said, kitchen is far from where you live. You make the food, put a lid on it, and then it still arrives warm. Yeah, so I think this is a Stella, actually. Yeah. Yeah, so these are Stella. Yeah, you can just barely see the writing. Yeah, unfortunately, we can barely see the writing, so you can probably barely see the writing. But both of these were Stella. They have since, of course, broken up. Rock does wear down with erosion, but apparently it is dedicated to King Munmul, basically completing the unification of the Korean peninsula. And he did so in alliance with Tang forces. So, you know, this is definitely the era in which Sheila is the client kingdom of the Tang dynasty. But that's really funny. Okay, so he worked with the Tang dynasty to finish the unification of the peninsula, but then he turned on the Tang dynasty. And he waged war against them, but actually managed to repel them from the kingdom for a time anyway. That's a typical medieval warlord move. Yes, we fought together. Now I'm going to fight against you. So Buddhism, this is something I haven't mentioned yet. Buddhism becomes prominent in the Shilla era in the Korean Peninsula. It becomes a state religion in about this time, in like the 5th, 6th century. And so now we're going to start seeing a lot more Buddhist motifs worked into objects of daily life, habitable spaces. We're going to start seeing a lot of artifacts from Buddhist temples. Here we have another zodiac deity, the pig. Piggy. For those of you who ever watch or read that, like Into the West, is that the
Journey to the
West? Journey to the West. That's it. Yeah. I love. So what's interesting to me about the pig, actually, the depiction of the pig, because it's not supposed to be a boar, but this just tells you. This gives you a hint, looking at its face, that pigs in the Shilla era were not what we would recognize as pigs. We would mistake them for boar, and they were probably roughly as vicious.
Brittany says, hi, where are we right now? I love this live.
We are in the Gyeongju National Museum in Gyeongju, South Korea. We are taking a time trip through the Shilla dynasty. So yeah, we have just finished a lot of the gold stuff, basically, and now we're on to basically signs of the unification of Shilla, of the peninsula under Shilla, rather. So yeah, apparently this is an inscription of, okay, so the Hwarang. So for those of you, the Hwarang. Okay, so for those of you who are into medieval knightly culture or maybe into samurai culture and history, the Hwarang were basically a knightly order in the Shilla dynasty. They were warriors, and the Hwarang, it means the Knights of the Flower, basically. Right. And so this is new. I haven't seen this before. This is a monument with an inscription of the Hwarang's oath, because like a knight, they had to take an oath. Unfortunately, it's all in Korean, and my Korean is not at the level of interpreting 6th century oaths. So, and I don't read Chinese characters either.
This was found in 1934, at least.
Yeah. So it was found in the 30s, but I think it's been in storage for a long time, because we come here a lot and I've never seen this before. So apparently there was also a female order of Hwarang in Shilla. This is how equal men and women were. So there were female knights basically in the Shilla dynasty. Okay. Also exciting for living historians, wood that survived. I know that sounds pathetic, but these are buckets, right? These are well buckets. And I don't know, because it doesn't say. No, maybe they're new for you. They were here the last time I was. It doesn't say, but I'm going to think that these buckets survived in the bottom of a well that got forgotten and in anaerobic conditions and just got preserved there and then they found them. But like, I love finding organic material like this that is soft, that is friable, that human hands touched and probably left their oils in. Like, this is a way to connect physically with the past. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting how differently shaped these buckets are, though, and these were just for bringing up water from the well.
It's amazing. So many of the history.
True. They don't teach it in school. They really don't. So now we're getting in for my masons, for my stone carvers out there. This is a limestone guardian, and if you were part of the two tours, the tour that we took through the Bridge of Filial Non-Filial Piety, this is one of the lions that they found in the river, and they've actually put another one up on top of the reconstructed entrance to the Bridge of Filial Non-Filial Piety. So you can actually get a close look at him here.
Not familiar with my wood. M-A-I?
Is it as durable? I have to say, Thomas Cervantes, I do not know what my wood is. I will completely admit ignorance, but honestly, I used to think there were only 4 trees in the world. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I'm confessing my ignorance of tree species. Okay, and here we have my zodiac, the monkey, in large version. And so what's interesting about statues like this is that they depict them in armor, but it's very unlikely to be real armor that was actually worn. This is almost like the Sheila version of costume armor. So if you're looking to do, check this. If you're looking to do living history where you're recreating life in 6th century Sheila and you do a 6th century Sheila costume party, here's some inspiration for it. Dress up as the monkey zodiac. Right. Okay, so eventually Sheila actually started. This is about the time that the Korean Peninsula started adopting institutions of Tang China. So, this is kind of the beginning of them adopting the bureaucratic system, organizing the court in that manner. And so what we have here, show them. So what we have here, apparently, they also adopted the funerary culture of the Tang, including mausoleums. And so they increasingly start adorning tombs with human figurines and lions. And so these are all basically new forms of decoration that they start finding in tombs from this era. They're so beautiful. Oh, too handsome. Did we show them the ones down here? Yeah. Let's get a little closer. So these were also started incorporating these motifs into their architecture as well. So these are apparently roof end tiles. I just love the monster mask design roof end tiles. Of course, they call them monster mask design, but my gut tells me these were probably were protective daemon in the old sense of the word daemon, not in the new sense of the word, current sense of the word demon. Right? They were protective spirits. Yeah, possibly to scare away fire demons, because that was a big issue. Oh, okay, writing culture. So these are inkstones. And for those who, they found these in Tonggung Palace, which we might be able to go to after this, actually. No?
It's 11:30.
Oh, or not. Well, we'll see. Anyway, okay, so these are inkstones. Right. And so if any of you have done Chinese or Eastern Asian calligraphy, it's done with a brush. It's a highly sophisticated process to make their ink. The ink is you actually grind it on a stone like and drip little drips of water to basically reconstitute it into ink. And so these are Sheila era inkstones, interestingly. Very different. So I'm assuming you grind on the top and then then drip, and then the ink collects in the side and you dip your brush in the side. I'm maybe making that up entirely, knowing the process as I know it using Joseon era inkstones. All right. Okay. So for those of you who are into historical fashion, this should be a little exciting for you. We don't have a lot of art depicting people from the Sheila era, but here we have clay female figurines that were found in tombs. Well, not just male and female. We have figurines, male and female, depicting people. Yeah, so these back ones are female, and this shows just how much Tang had started influencing Sheila, because we go from the Sheila style, which is, you've got two robes that are belted at the waist, and now we start to see high-waisted garments wrapped, right up around the breast area, right under the armpits, basically, and that is so quintessentially a Tang style. So we don't have many depictions people from this era. Most of them are on tomb paintings that are unfortunately in what's now North Korea, so inaccessible. So when you find statues like that, it's really important. Okay. Moving on. Yeah. So we're into the period where Sheila accepts Buddhism. And once they accept it, they don't just accept it. They go crazy with it, sort of like Christianity actually in Europe. They start building temples and monasteries and holding rituals and incorporating Buddhist practices into their life. But of course, it's an adapted Buddhism, right? It's certainly not the form of Buddhism that Buddha probably would have recognized very much.
Nore.
Mhm.
So those are not demon, that's a dragon on the end of that. Even though it's a
Oh, yes, no, sorry. I didn't mean demons like that. I'm sorry. I'm using the old meaning of the word, which is a protective spirit. So yeah, absolutely. They're not demons like, yeah, dragons for certain, but I think they're meant to be protective in nature. Yeah.
and hi, Mighty Nore.
Hello, thank you for joining us again. So here we have more horse tack, right? So we've got snaffle bits, and we've got saddle pommels, and check out those massive stirrups, which if you've seen some of the boots on some of the statues that you see from this era, big stirrups makes a lot of sense, actually. And then we've got all kinds of other bits of horse tack. These metal bits would have been attached to leather straps, something we call barding, probably, as much decorative as it is functional. Yeah, barding, as much functional as it is decorative. Yeah, more golden rings and bling, another sword and a scabbard that's actually survived pretty well. Yeah.
It's nice that they did the rubbing so you can see this.
Oh yeah. So they've put a rubbing on so that you can actually see a rice paper rubbing onto the original stones so that you can actually very clearly see the motif, which otherwise can be a little obscured.
It's a little bit of detail.
Yeah. Ooh, more statues wearing clothing. Yay. That's so exciting.
Which rarely survives.
The wagon is a reconstruction, handsome. It's the wheels that they're trying to demonstrate. The wheels, yeah. Yep. For those of you who are into smithing, these are examples of Sheila era nails, some of which actually did survive with wood bits still attached, which is impressive. I'm pretty certain. Let me check. Look at 13. Show them 13. Show them 13 right there. I'm pretty certain. I'm trying to think which I think it's a mold. They say it's a footrest, but that really looks like some kind of mold to me. Yeah, they say it's a footrest. Sorry, I got excited. I thought it was a mold. It's probably a footrest. But look at that gorgeous. Oh my God, that is breathtaking. Number 6, that amazing piece of pottery. Let me see if I can find some more details on it. Nope. Right. Okay. So this is actually a tricolor glazed urn. They don't know exactly what it is for, but it was found in the tomb. Isn't that stunning? I mean, you could absolutely see buying that from a modern ceramic shop today. That's unique. We don't often see tri-glazed vessels like that in Sheila era tombs. Yeah, this gorgeous burial urn. Wow. Now they call them burial urns, but I don't think they mean that there are ashes in them the way we in the West might think of a burial urn. I think they mean it's an urn that was in the burial. Let me double check that. Nope, I'm wrong. Strike that. Right, so this is actually a new exhibit, so this is pretty exciting for us. So apparently, as Buddhism became more widely accepted, they started actually cremating remains and in fact putting them in urns. And so there are 2 types. There's the double type and the single type. And the double type had an apparatus to protect the actual urn, like a stone sarcophagus, right? Something like that to go around it. The single one just went straight in, to the ground the way it was. And so, yeah, apparently there were remains, I suppose, contained in these. And this is an example of the double urn type, apparently. So you have the small urn there, and that goes in the bigger urn there. That's beautiful. Just look at that. That's amazing. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty stunning, too. They think those little guys up there are also burial urns, those teeny tiny ones. Interesting. Yeah, oof, that's a sad thought. There's the famous Gyeongju tile. Yeah.
get to that.
Nope. Okay, so the increasing influence of Buddhism. So these are all basically excavated from Buddhist temple sites. And you can really start to see the influence of Buddhism in the execution of metalwork. And it starts, of course, changing the way people, or adorn themselves is the word I'm looking for. Unfortunately, they don't always know what the specific items were used for or how they were used or who used them because practices have since changed. Memorial Gallery. This is all new. Yeah, right. So what often happens here in Korea is this wonderful thing whereby private collectors amass these amazing collections and then donate them to museums. So what we're seeing in this gallery is, the Kukun collection. So this was one person's private collection, and his name was Lee Yang-sun, and he kept detailed records of everything in his collection. And he, donated is maybe a strong word. He. Let me see if he actually donated it. This is new. This part of the museum is new for us.
Start going down there.
Yeah. Okay, so here are some of these lovely pieces. So apparently he didn't care about how much the item cost or what its value was. He cared about what its value to history and the understanding of history was, which is a very, very responsible approach to curating a collection, actually. And of course, most robber barons just cared about how blingy and big and beautiful and valuable it was in America, I mean.
You can see some of the smaller things.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's really hard to see some of the smaller bits. Yeah, which doesn't necessarily mean button like to button clothing. It probably was decorative and not meant to actually close. In fact, those would be these buttons, let's go back to the buttons. These buttons would be hideously annoying to use on clothing, especially with those little bumps in the middle, but they would be perfectly fine for ornamentation.
Of course, pottery.
Yeah. I said if pottery is what you want, Sheila is the place to come. Look, more birds of. He's got a better duck. Are we judging ducks now? Are we rating ducks? Another one of the covered dishes with the cute little animals on top. Rate my com. Oh, look, that one has a little boat on top with the person rowing the boat. That's pretty neat. Yeah. Mushroom-shaped artifacts. Well, thank you. I can see that with my eyes. But these look like finials, honestly, to me, that could have gone on the top of a parasol or something like that. Yeah, or, on the top of a cart or something like that. Yeah, so I love...
Similar to Natsuke. I don't know what Natsuke are.
Yeah. So, again, no one seems to know what we have a lot of this kind of pottery, this fun little, horn shaped with a horse. It's interestingly common, but no one seems to be able to tell me or know what they were actually used for. Little cups, but they're not exactly practical for drinking a lot. Maybe it's a party cup. Maybe this was your party cup of choice. Yeah, maybe it's a wedding cup. Unfortunately, I've never seen any theory even as to what it could be for, but that horse certainly has a lot of armor on. Look at these stirrups. Aren't these gorgeous? These are lacquered stirrups, by the way. So again, it's amazing when this sort of stuff survived. So for those who don't understand the process of lacquering, it's multiple layers of cloth and wood shaped and and annealed together, and it's an incredibly laborious process. So having a pair of lacquered stirrups, that was a real flex.
Show them the inside.
Yeah, show them the inside for certain. That was definitely a real flex. And something to remember is that this is, we're talking 4th, 5th century. Europeans didn't have stirrups yet. we didn't get stirrups in the West until like the 8th century.
Here's the better duck.
Here is the superior duck. #ratemyduck.com. Yep. So for those who are just joining or joined in late, apparently the currently espoused theory is the reason so many duck would help guide the spirit of the deceased to the afterlife. But it's kind of strange that they never depict wings on these ducks. Just saying. Just
Many
saying.
think they're oil lamps. They don't know, so possible.
I have thought that often myself, actually. Let's see, bronze cylinder artifacts. Well, thank you for that. Okay, but here we have.
Oh,
Oh wow! And look, soft tissue survived the case. The mirror. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the side that you would hold. The bottom side would be polished to a pretty decent sheen. You can see yourself pretty well, actually. And the one on the left, that the mirror case, parts of it actually survive, so you can see the details of weaving together reed. And then that was covered. Unfortunately, it doesn't say what it's covered in. It looks like maybe leather. It could be bark also, actually, but that also shows the way in which these items were stored. And I'm going to imagine that it was probably painted beautifully on the outside of the case because, as we know, Sheila, they love the pretty. Those kinds of daily life, those really excite me a lot.
Crown ornament.
Yeah. Wow, that's one hell of a crown ornament. Dear God. That
bronze horse bit.
Yeah, the bit is very interesting. So for those of you who ride, we still have snaffle bits like this, where it's a double snaffle, and that gives you some interesting control over your horse. Bells, and they call these horse bells. If you're riding a horse that's wearing bells, you're going to be heard from a goodly distance. Look at this adorable little tiny gilt bronze. They call it a cauldron. I don't know what evidence they have of it being used as a cauldron or if it's votive. Again, there's, and this little tiny votive frying pan, which also looks like a bed warmer and actually has a hinged lid. So, could have been used as a bed warmer, or it could have been this could actually be showing you the kind of high-tech cooking equipment they had in Sheila, or maybe it was both. That's a gong, really beautiful gong. And a bronze handbell. And there is, maybe it's not here. Is it the Seoul National Museum where you can touch a bell like that? Yes. Yes. Seoul National Museum, you can touch a reconstruction of a bell like that. For my fans of the history of religion, gilt bronze standing Buddha, and I need to go and brush up on my hand gestures. So you see how the hands are in different positions? In Buddhism, each of the positions has a specific meaning representing a different stage of Buddha's existence. And I really do need to go and learn them because you see a lot of Buddhist stuff. Okay, now here we have, they call them reliquaries, these little stupas, and I just love those little cases there, which they say those are reliquaries, meaning they might have actually found them inside of a pagoda. Yeah. And here we have Three Kingdoms era bracelets, so early Sheila. Showing actually what it shows is that everyone wanted bling, and that there was bling for all budgets, really.
Bling for all budgets.
Bling for all budgets, even. Yeah, and here we go, more earrings, and this was all in just this one gentleman's collection, and I doubt this is his whole collection. This is probably just the items relevant to the sort of first millennium Korea.
I think they used to have a Greek helmet here with him.
Well, they definitely have a Greek helmet up in, what's that place? Oh, yes. So, everyone, I am so excited to tell you today they have a special exhibition here for my pottery fans, sculpted Celadon of the Goryeo dynasty. So, we're talking first millennium, 1000 to the late 14th century, basically. So, this is new for us. I'm hoping to see some really exciting new items. And we can just get a sweep here of the premises so you can see what an amazing complex. This museum itself, the grounds are beautiful. It's worth coming here and just spending a day and just relaxing in a really gorgeous space. Has a garden. Of course, it looks like the garden is under renovation, but yeah. Should definitely show them this angle of the museum. Yeah, the museum is built in this very fascinating modernized version of, you know, historic Korean lines. It's very awe-inspiring, shall we say.
Look at what that stone is.
Yeah, it's okay. We're down here now. Someday we'll go and look. Evil Korean pottery, ceramics. So this is a brand new exhibit. It just opened on the 3rd. So we're very excited to share this. We don't know what to look at. This is new to us. So I'm hoping to share my excitement and enthusiasm about discovering new beauty with you. Korean dynasty. Okay, let's go to the introduction. Yeah, go show them some pieces and I'll tell what here. Okay, so the technique that we're going to be looking at today is called sanghyong, which is the act of modeling the external form of an object. And basically the idea is to imitate the surrounding world in some way. Okay, yeah, we actually have a sort of replica of the turtle dragon shaped ewer. And so a ewer is, you know, any kind of, they use that word when it's generally used for water. And you might look at these and think teapots, but these are not teapots. These are ewers. These are meant for water. And this one actually has the ewer and basin still. So you see it comes together. So you have the basin would receive the water and you would pour the water into the basin, usually over someone's hands to wash, for instance. Right? Yeah, so yeah, lions and ducks, basically.
It's a duck biting its own butt.
That's fantastic. I don't know why. So let's see. The duck biting its butt is just called a duck-shaped horn cup, and that's earthenware. And the handle is the shape of the duck biting its own tail. The duck's face and a water bird are expressed in relief and fine detail. So the water bird is right there on the cup itself. Yeah. Yeah. And then we've got a water dropper. Now, this is super cool. Yeah, number 2, that is a Celadon water dropper. And that is part of the calligraphy process. Because if you remember, we talked about the ink grinding stones. So you grind your ink and then you drip, 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 1 drop of water at a time with that beautiful, what a gorgeous water dropper to create your ink. Then we've got a lion-shaped incense burner. So that little guy back there, the number 3, yeah. Number 3 is an incense burner lid. And so, yeah, basically the smoke will actually, it is called smoke if it's incense, right? Yeah, will actually come out of its mouth. So the incense burner is not there anymore. This is just the lid. And yeah, that would be a very neat effect. And then we have another, that number 4 is also a water dropper. Shape of a lion with its hind legs gathered under it, features exaggerated expression that is typical of lions in this era. The teeth and chest bells are highlighted with white slip, and iron pigment was applied to the pupils. which is what creates those different, you can see they're actually different colors there. That is interesting.
That's where it's from.
These are all, this is all Korea. And let me see, all Sheila. So this is all local to here, except for, oh, that's interesting. So the lion-shaped water dropper with the black eyes was actually excavated from a shipwreck, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, the really fancy one was excavated from a shipwreck off the coast. Yeah. Ooh, those are pretty neat. Oh my gosh, look at this beauty. Oh my goodness, so gorgeous. Okay, so here we have the bottom part of an incense burner, right? Lotus-shaped incense burner. Lotus, the Buddhism is flourishing. This is the Goryeo era, so incense plays a really big role in Buddhist ritual and also in ancestral worship. And so, yeah, I want a incense burner that looks so beautiful. And this is another lion incense burner. And again, the smoke would actually come out of its mouth when you put the incense inside the bowl and then cover with the lid. Oh, these are I've never seen any of these pieces, dear fellow explorers. So this is just wonderful. Oh, wow, that is so cool. Okay, so yeah, dragon carp. I've never seen a dragon carp, but now I have. So another incense burner. And of course, the smoke would come out of the dragon carp's mouth. I want a dragon carp.
A duck.
Oh my God. Is it? It's a mandarin duck specifically, which is an interesting detail. We actually have some mandarin ducks in Daegu. Another incense. This is the incense burner lid. The bottom part has not survived. Apparently, so it says that a jade colored glaze was added to enliven the figure, which is why it's actually a different shade than the other two. Yeah. Oh, it's a girin. So this is another of these mythical Asian mythical creatures. Do you remember what a girin's composition was?
It's like a lion with horns, I think.
Kind of looks like a goat with lion with something else. Anyway, it's a mythical Asian creature, but look at the details, that craftsmanship. Again, incense burner, cool mythical creature spewing smoke. Yes, please.
Chunks. Oh, and mold, I think, right here.
Yeah, so we've got an interesting combination here. So you can actually, for those who are interested in the insides of things, because unfortunately this incense burner was broken, you can actually see the cross section of the materials that were involved in it. Just look how fine the grain on that is. Yeah, wow. Okay, so down here we have what's called biscuitware.
And he says, "Never thought I'd be interested in ancient Asian pottery." Yeah.
Right. So this is technically medieval, so we're talking 12th, 13th century. But yeah, whatever, historical pottery, never thought it'd be interesting, and yet here it is. So what we've got here is these two on the ends are what are called biscuitware. And I actually have no idea what biscuitware is. That is something I've never heard of before. Let me see if I can read something about biscuitware. Nope, nothing about what biscuitware is. That seems, but here's something really cool. Fragments of molds. And so you can actually see that these weren't sculpted like we're thinking of sculpted, not by hand, not on a pottery wheel. These are molded, right? So you actually have to create a mold, and then you can actually kind of mass produce this stuff. But of course, the skill it takes to create a really good detailed mold is quite a lot. And it's carving really is mold creation. I mean, maybe they probably can't see the shard of flour, the detail of the petals. Oh, that's unfortunate.
This beautiful.
Oh yeah, the gourd-shaped ewer with lotus. I love this style of ewer. I have a replica of not this one, but one similar to it in storage somewhere. We usually use it to serve wine because, when schon den, as they say in German.
More water.
Yeah, more. Yeah, incense burner lid. Is that a water dripper? It's an inkstone. No, this is an inkstone. Handsome, come over here. This is not a dripper. This is an inkstone. And for those of you who actually know what pottery is, this is a slip painted design. So, which is different. There's not a lot of pottery that has survived, ceramics that have survived with painted patterns from this era. I mean, there are some, just not a lot. Oh, look at this lion incense burner. He looks like something out of Sesame Street. Oh, look, more ducks. Smoke. It doesn't have the same impact that a girin would, you know. Ooh, they're showing the carving process. Yes. Did the art of ceramics and the glazing process come from China to Korea, Korea to China, or did it evolve on its own over time? That is a very good question, and that is something I haven't actually seen addressed. I'm going to assume that probably glazing came from China, but that may be a false assumption. Now, one of the things they like to do, especially at modern exhibits in Korean museums, is provide you with a animated version of the reproduction process so that you can actually see how things are made and make it more tangible than just looking at an object in a case, for instance. And we actually appreciate this aspect. Yeah. Unfortunately, we missed the production process. We're now to the delivery system. Yeah, I would actually assume that it probably originated in China, but it could be a case of parallel development.
Well, there's also lots of trade between the two.
There was so much trade. Yeah,
You can imagine that even if it came from one direction, it probably traveled back.
I mean, yeah. Obviously, at this point, they are making it. This is all local production, but where it originated, or where it originally originated, is even more of a question, right? Who were the first people to glaze their pottery? Oh, look at these ewers. Ah, so beautiful. Of course, it's some of these look so modern, though. I mean, in the motif and the style, you would think this is something, like this cute little melon ewer. You would think maybe that you get that from a local kitsch store, right? But nope, it's a medieval item.
It's amazing that so many survived so well.
It is really remarkable how many have survived.
Oh, this is cute.
Oh, look at these little guys. Oh my goodness. Monkey-shaped ink containers. So these are ink containers. What they mean is ink wells. So imagine you're doing calligraphy and you have this adorable ink well. I mean, if that's not going to make you want to do calligraphy, I don't know what would. And then this. So that one back there, that's a water dropper. That's a pomegranate. That's interesting. So it's a pomegranate with monkeys on it as a water dropper. And this is just a really fancy ewer. But you know what? It has been kintsugi'd. Okay, so you see that separate. So on the top, there's a little flower, and then there's the dark half in the back. That is kintsugi. That is the process of using a metal composite to actually fill in broken bits. And usually that's a sign that an item has made its way to Japan and back again.
They actually got cross sections of these pieces.
Oh, wow. Oh, they probably did imaging. Right. So if you're interested in seeing the cross sections of some of these pieces, that's the water dropper. So you can actually see where the water comes out on the spout. And this is that's the ewer. It's pretty cool. It's a new way of looking at things. Technology making archaeology better. Yeah. Gourd-shaped bottle. So apparently Celadon bottles shaped like this with the narrow-waisted gourd look were typically used for alcohol. I would happily drink soju from something that looked like that. And you notice how all these shapes are very opulent. There's a lot of decoration. I mean, look at all the details of the flowers, all those flowers, which of course had to be hand painted on, slip painted. So that's quite a lot of work. It shows the opulence that was really that the Goryeo dynasty was still enjoying fully.
All those flowers. Peonies. Those lilies.
Peonies. Those are peonies. Yep. Peonies are, I think, one of the auspicious flowers. Yeah.
I remember them from our pottery.
So the interesting thing about this one, for those of you who understand anything about pottery making, there's different ways that you can apply decorative effect. One of them is by doing an inlay. And so this one actually combines an inlay technique plus an underglaze iron technique, which creates the depth of the decorative elements that you see there. So some of those decorative elements are not surface glazed, they are actually basically carved into it. And then the carved areas are filled with the respective slip. What? What are you talking about? I can't touch it. So we've got some water droppers, which are, the water droppers are 2, 3, and 4. And then we've got some seals. So actually these little guys here, the 6 and 7, those are seals. So on the bottom will be there's someone's personal seal is actually inscribed into them. And then too bad they didn't show the stamp. Hey, redo the exhibit. Show us what the stamps look like. Because that's how they signed, documents. That's how people sign documents in this era, is they have their seal. Yeah, 2 and 3 are water droppers. Those are pretty cool water droppers. And 7 is, no, that's 1. Yeah, that's what I thought. Another duck incense burner lid. Pretty neat. Wow. There's a lot of really cool things here. Oh my God. Yeah, this weird thing. Okay. So this is a headrest. They call it a pillow. Definitely not a pillow. It's a headrest. And so they think the lions likely represented, the authority of the ruling class. Unlike Chinese ceramic pillows that typically depict a single lion, Goryeo apparently, upped the ante by adding a second lion to be really edgy. Now, I cannot personally imagine that this style of neck rest is comfortable for sleeping. Have any of you actually ever slept on a so-called pillow like this, a neck rest like this? Let me know if it's actually comfortable. I'm a side sleeper, and that just doesn't seem like a good plan.
Betty agrees they needed the seal's imprints.
Yeah, the seal's imprints would have been a really cool touch. Okay, now here, look at this dragon. Look at the way that he's just sitting so boldly there. It's a dragon incense burner. So yeah, I mean, if it's going to be an incense burner, I feel like it should be a creature that naturally spouts smoke anyway. Yeah, of course, dragons going back for thousands of years in Asia symbolize, and even not necessarily, I think in Japan as well, symbolize royal authority, right? And so, the idea is that this is probably from the royal house. Look at that dragon. He's just so sassy. Yeah. The auspicious dragon turtle. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the turtle dragon. Of course, they call them turtle dragons, and I think they're really just turtles that are stylized, but whatever. Pretty cool little guy. Let me see.
We need to move a little.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Let's go to this one. That's like the one that you have.
Oh yeah. This is except ours has red also, but that's okay. We have a replica of a ewer. You're looking to see if it's here. It's not. Very, very similar to this one. And one of the theories about these that I read, these ewers that have the little hinges on them, is that these were actually replicas of brassware made in pottery form, and they just included the hinge that would normally hinge the lid to a metal hinge on the handle. That's a theory I read, but on the other hand, I don't know why you can't just attach that little lid to a piece of finger loop braiding or something. So, yeah.
Turtles in a bad mood.
Turtles in a bad mood, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, look. It's the one we have. We have a replica of this one. Yeah, here's another turtle in a bad mood. Turtle dragon shaped ewer. Yeah, we used to, when I would hold Contessa sip and stitch events or sip and do events, I would bring out my replica medieval pottery, and we'd serve wine and water from them for the guests to add an extra layer of interest.
Say hi to Chips.
Hi, Chaps. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, crap. Yeah, such gorgeous pieces. I'm so excited by this Celadon ware. Oh, ooh, how much liquid? Quantities, important to know. So,
It's pretty standard.
obviously for any ewer, it's important to know how much soju you can fit in the bottle. So they have conveniently provided us, they've measured the volume of some of the pieces they have. So that last turtle dragon shaped ewer, the one we just saw, that one can hold 0.8 liters, which is a lot.
Okay.
The dragon carp one can hold 0.8. The pomegranate one, of which we saw the cross section, 0.8. But the bamboo shoot shaped ewer, which was over there, 1.5 liters. So that's maximum party right there. And apparently the human figured shaped ewer, did we miss that one? Where's that? That has closed.
The other side over here.
Anyway, so for maximum party, bamboo shoot shaped or incised ewer. Oh, we also have a replica of this one. We do. Yeah, this is the dragon carp. I have seen a dragon carp. We just never knew what it was. So I do have a dragon carp, and we do have a replica of this ewer, and we do serve people drinks from it at parties. Oh, there it is. There. Okay. Good. Depictions of people in clothing in Celadon form. Excellent. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is, they call it a human figured shape, but it's interesting. The figure is holding 7 peaches with both hands. And they think it might be the Queen Mother of the West who resides on Mount Kunlun and dispenses sacred peaches, which were considered symbols of eternal youth. And if it's not actually her, they think it's related to her. But, you know, I don't know why they're doubting that it is, because the visual evidence is all there.
Maddie says his wife calls her stitching, gathering, stitch and bitch.
Thank you. I'm so glad that I can impact the world in this way. Yeah, another beautiful ewer.
I never give Rachel a reason to bitch about me.
No, only when he has bad posture. Look at this peacock ewer. Oh my goodness. I've never seen a peacock ewer before.
Go over there.
This is, ooh, more touching, but look at this peacock ewer. Look at, oh, it's so beautiful. I want this, I must have this ewer now. I mean, look, they even went to the detail of including the feather, the eyes that are in the feathers of the peacock. And there's a word for that. We just learned the word for that, the eye. Yeah. If any of you remember what the word for the eye motif that you see in butterfly wings and moth wings and bird wings, let me know. Wait, what do you mean? They said it's unclear what kind of bird this could be. It's a peacock. I'm pretty certain it's clear. Okay. Another party ewer.
I lost it.
What do you mean you don't know what kind it is? Please, people. So this viewer has a poem by He Zhizhang, a Chinese poet from the Tang Dynasty who is a Taoist, apparently. So one line from the poem suggests that the bottle was used to contain alcoholic drinks. Yeah, I mean, he's a poet. Doesn't that automatically suggest it's used to contain alcoholic drinks? But apparently, it kind of shows that how there were some people in the Goryeo dynasty who were connected to the ideas of Taoism and maybe even Taoist immortals. Okay, so here we have another touch area, and this is aimed at children as well as for the visually impaired. But what's really nice is to make it accessible for the children, they've actually laid out here in kind of basic diagram form showing how pottery is actually made. Yeah, it's just, it's really nice how they've tried to make it accessible and interesting.
Smoothing, drying,
firing in the kiln.
shaping.
Oh, a difference between, yeah, making sculpted Celadon. So you need the clay, you shape it, you dry it in the shade, it will crack, apply, and then it's done once it cools. Okay, so here we have another touch area. And what's interesting is this is not all Celadon. This is actually,
Bronze.
yeah.
Hey, this says fill the surface of the pottery.
No, I think this is pottery. It's stoneware. Yeah. Yep. Oh.
That's bamboo groves. Yeah.
Gyrin-shaped incense burner.
And she just has to touch it. No, we have this one.
Oh, yeah, this is one of the ones that we have. Our dragon
Touch
cart.
This one. You've touched it a lot.
Yes, but I haven't touched it in years. So, and then our turtle dragon.
Little girl's left her
Oh no, her Hello Kitty comb.
kitty.
And then, oh, they've got the same thing. So they actually, that's kind of nice that they have a repeat so that when you have lots of children, everyone gets a chance. Okay, yeah. Let's finish outside. Just see if there's any interesting tidbits to share. So here we talk about using computed CT scans, computed tomography. God darn, why can't I say that word? To enhance their understanding of the composition and how they're made. So interestingly, for the human figure, for instance, you can see here, oh, this is fascinating. The computer tomography showed that the upper and lower parts are actually made separately before attaching them together. And that also the hole in the top of the head was made not after making the head first, by making the face and the back of the head separately and gluing them together to have a hole and then attaching it to the body. So this is how we can use modern technology to really understand the past better. So that's pretty fast. Like I never would have thought to do that. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Well, have you enjoyed your tour of the Gyeongju National Museum? This is not the entire thing, but we have other places to be today. So if you have any last questions or comments, now's your chance. We're just going to take a little tootle around the grounds while we let you make any last minute comments or requests. We did go to Yangdong Village yesterday, the actual historic, one of the most historic and most beautiful Hanok villages here in Korea. We were not able to live stream. We tried desperately, but it just wouldn't connect. We did do walking videos. We videoed walking around and telling you about the sites. One of those videos will be going on the Travels with the Contessa channel, not the Creative Contessa. The other will be going on my Walking with the Contessa channel. So if you want to check out that experience, check out those two channels. Otherwise, I've been really excited to share this experience with you today. If you have any questions and I didn't answer them in the live chat, then just pop them in the comments and I will get to them. Otherwise, yes.
Was green chosen for a particular reason or because green was a color they could make?
I know that the green has to do with the particular soil. And that is a good question. I can't actually answer whether green was chosen for a reason specifically other than it is available here. The glaze to do so is something that's local. And yeah, thank you. I can barely see it so bright out here. The glaze to do so is the materials for the glaze are local. So it could be a question of it is what's local. But the interesting tidbit about green, Koreans will look at Celadon pottery and what looks green to us, they will say is blue. So that's fascinating. We actually talked to a master potter, one of the national treasure artisans of Korea a couple of years ago. And at that told me that pottery is the color it is because of the kind of clay that is local and the glaze that is local, and that the combination of those two makes true Celadon pottery. But he also said that you can't actually get the actual clay, the proper original clay for it anymore, because it's either all gone or left has a high lead content and comes from China, apparently. Now, I haven't verified any of those statements. Who knows if it was an elderly gentleman just spinning interesting yarns, but that's the information I have.
Where's your purse?
I put her with my hat. Yeah.
Say hi to I Love Bees.
Hello, I'm so sorry. We're to the, here, let's walk, handsome. We've come to the end of our live stream here at Gyeongju National Museum. If you tuned in late, I hope you rewatch from the beginning to see what other fascinating things we covered. We have more live streams planned on the Creative Contessa. I will be doing my Stitch and Bitch tomorrow, my time, maybe later on today, your time. on where you are. And then on Sunday morning, my time, Saturday afternoon, evening, possibly your time, I'll be doing a collaborative live stream with Philip from Irish Medieval History. We will be talking about fascinating learnings I've just made from the book Textiles in Ireland about medieval Irish clothing and society and the textile industry. So stay tuned for more excitement on the Creative Contessa, Travels with the Contessa, and Walking with the Contessa. Otherwise, everyone, from my location here in South Korea to you, I hope your travels and your learning is exciting and unexpected. Goodbye, everyone.
At the last moment, Gretchen says, I always thought of Celadon glaze as blue as well. Interesting. It always looks green to me.
Yeah, right?
All right. Bye-bye for real.
Bye for real.